Hi, hope you're well. Today, we're going to talk about cryptids, local to my state. And I don't really consider myself to be a superstitious type, but just listen to this. Superstition in the Deep South is a very common trait to have. It intersects with religion more than you'd think, and even people who don't put any weight into these notions can still contribute to their spread. If you live in the South, too, or anywhere near the Appalachian mountain range, you've probably seen those metal Bigfoot cutouts standing up in every other front lawn. Legends can live on like this, even in subtle ways. But while fictional, the stories attached to these ideas, these creatures birthed by the mind of man, can still be just as fascinating as what's real. They're found all over the world, too, and can range from the obviously fake and lighthearted to a darker, more serious attempt indicative of a population trying to scrape together an explanation for an unexplainable horror. Georgia has both of these types, and while not all are restricted to only this state, all of these creatures, legends, and accounts I will discuss today are very fascinating and, dare I say, entertaining. First up, we have the Thunderbird. The Thunderbird is an omen of the storm in animal form, with origins dating back to the time of Native Americans. Sightings have been documented just about everywhere on the American continent, from South and Central America to northern Canada. They're described consistently as enormous birds of prey, giant buzzards with wingspans reaching up to 16 feet. Details get skewed, however, with the sheer amount of sightings. One early pioneer of a Pennsylvania county claimed to see a flock of 5 or 6 of them, while others note them as solitary creatures. Some say they have elongated beaks, and others claim the species have no feathers on their heads. Even in the modern day, supposed sightings have been recorded. One such photo, taken back in the 1900s, has become infamous as the lost Thunderbird photo, due to it rumoredly burning up in a fire. What sighting this bird means for an individual can vary greatly with who you ask. Some say laying eyes on this thing can be a sign of a storm to come, while others see it as more of a fantastical thing with lightning in its eyes and thunder that sparks to life with every flap of its wings. For all its speculation, the Thunderbird is widely considered a powerful and mighty creature. I'm a fan of this one personally, just because of the sheer amount of history there is of sightings of this thing. There's a lot of different accounts and what it looks like, so I kind of think maybe if this were a real thing, there would be a lot of different subspecies across the Americas. I think that'd be really cool. I think the next one's pretty cool too. Next up, we have the Georgia raptor. The tale of the Georgia raptor is perhaps one of the most nebulous and isolated. Its existence is based primarily from a single account of a young man and his grandfather gone out on a hunting and camping trip in the woods of Georgia in July of 2008. On this trip, the eyewitness shares he encountered a troodontid, or raptor-like dinosaur. It looked straight out of a Jurassic Park movie, he shares, and claims it was around 5 feet tall, with clawed feet and a long tail. He claims he'd never believed in the paranormal before this day, but now his worldview has changed forever. I think this one's probably my least favorite, just if I'm going to be honest, because it only comes from one source. It comes from a website on a thought.co, I believe, but I tried to trace down the article it came from, but it was taken down. All I had was a transcription from a different website that was copied down onto. So I'm not going to read that word for word because I don't feel like I have to, but I will have a link to that in the description if you want to read the account. Next up, we have the Altamaha, and no, I do not know if I'm pronouncing that right. The Altamaha is a sea creature of Jurassic proportion, rumored to inhabit the Altamaha River of Darien, Georgia. Sightings of this Nessie-adjacent animal are said to occur all the time, and the legend dates back to the time of the Lower Muskogee Creek tribe of Georgia, long before the British even thought of colonizing North America. Alti, the shorthand nickname for the creature, is known to be a plesiosaur-like animal with 2 front fins and a long, winding tail to steer it through the fresh water of the Altamaha River. What especially lends this tale some believability, I think, is the river itself. The Altamaha River is Georgia's largest. It is 137 miles long, stretches into other rivers and abandoned rice fields, and is home to over 130 rare and endangered wildlife species, some of which are not found anywhere else in the world. Darien, where the most sightings take place, lies towards the coast and the mouth of the Altamaha River, right smack between Savannah and the Florida border. I think this creature is pretty cool too. I can't really complain, though it is maybe not so original in comparison to the Loch Ness Monster. But on the other hand, that kind of also lends it some believability. You know, maybe it's also a subspecies of the same creature that happens to be the Loch Ness Monster. I don't really have any other notes on there, so we'll be moving on. Next up, we have Bigfoot. I feel like I'd be kind of stupid not to throw this one in here. Being easily the most popular and well-known cryptid of North America, Bigfoot has made quite the name for himself, worming his way into environmentalist campaigns, front yards, and even kitschy gift shops. America's Wild Man started in 1958 when a man named Andrew Gensdy received a letter from a group of loggers in California about a strange footprint they'd found in the mud. It was large, far larger than a man's foot would be, and Andrew posted an article about it in the Humboldt Times paper, thinking it would make for a funny, light Sunday read. He even joked that they might have a relative of the abominable snowman on their hands, but little did he know Bigfoot was about to rocket to stardom right in front of his eyes. America's Wild Man became easy even for the layman to attach himself to, and throughout the decades of his upbringing, Bigfoot changed. In the 70s, he was a fearsome beast of desire. In the 80s, he was an environmental symbol, not unlike Smokey the Bear. And at some point, he even became a television star. The first example of this happened in a show called Truth or Consequences, where they even offered a $1,000 bounty for any evidence of his existence. America was infected with Sasquatch fever, and it seems these symptoms still manifest even to this day. I like this one too. I like the concept of a wild man just chilling out in the woods, you know? I'm also really fond of how he tends to be in environmentalist campaigns, or at least he was before. I wasn't really able to dig up any photos for that, not authentic ones at least, but I think those two things just pair together really well. Also, in my area, it's really popular to just like Bigfoot, have memorabilia and whatnot. I've seen a bunch of gift shops that have Bigfoot-themed merchandise, so maybe I'm a little biased here. There's also a Bigfoot Museum. I think it's, it's in Georgia, of course. I think it's over in Blue Ridge. I think I might go there for a video, maybe. It all depends. You know, I guess you can leave a comment if you want to see that, maybe. Who knows? Moving on. Last on our list, we have knot deer. Knot deer are probably the most realistic of the cryptids here. Origins of this creature are often hard to pinpoint, though, but it is known to roam any wooded area that deer also inhabit, particularly near the Appalachian Mountain Range. Encounters tend to happen at night when people adventure into forests or drive through wooded areas or parks. Usually, when a deer catches sight of you, its eyes reflect in the light and it bounds away, spooked by the presence of man, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they seem off. Sometimes they don't act like deer. They just feel like something trying to imitate one. Trying but not succeeding. These creatures are thinner than deer. Sometimes they have forward-facing predator eyes. It's unclear what they truly are, but one thing is for sure, they are not deer. Ranging anywhere from Alabama to Canada, these creatures look normal at first glance, but only that. Some have misshapen legs or necks that stick out at odd angles. Some move oddly, with disjointed legs that seem unused to the body it inhabits. Others show odd behavior and are far bolder than deer should be, showing no fear or caution, even in the presence of predators. Some believe these things to be a variant of skinwalkers of Native American folklore, though one more realistic theory catches my eye personally. CWD, short for chronic wasting disease, is also known as mad deer disease. It's a neurological, degenerative, and always fatal condition that can affect many cervids, from deer to elk to moose. In its late stages, CWD can leave a deer completely emaciated and acting in bizarre ways, out of character for its species. They become husks of what they were and isolate themselves from other deer. Their brains deteriorate and waste away while their bodies live on. Some liken it to a zombie virus, but it also shares a lot of similarities to how dementia affects humans. I feel like this cryptid is kind of just a big miscommunication, honestly. From what I've seen of chronic wasting disease in deer, it affects more of them than you would expect. It's a real problem, honestly. I think it's just kind of sad that these deer would get a bad rap out of that. CWD, from what I understand, isn't a really aggressive condition, so seeing a fear of it being turned into some kind of cryptid or monster, it's a little sad, but you know, it's alright. Not the end of the world, I guess. And it makes for a cool cryptid, so I guess I can't really complain. Personally, even after researching these creatures, I don't really believe in cryptids. I think plenty of stuff can be explained by stuff we already know, and you know, there's already plenty of horror in real life, so there's no need to be creating even more of it. I think these creatures are interesting, not because they're real, but because it kind of shows how the human mind works. People can be infinitely creative, and to show that horror and creativity can intersect at times, people's fear can be channeled into things like this, it's kind of inspiring in a weird way. I would encourage anyone watching to look into these creatures if they interest you. Researching this was pretty entertaining for me, so I feel like you guys could get a kick out of it too. But that's about all for today, and I will see you guys next week.